Hello, everyone. Welcome to our last two chapters of The Slight Edge in our Rock Your Purpose book club. I am Eilers-Heffner and a Sapphire Ambassador and mom of four, if you can't hear them. So I just loved this entire book. I feel like the last two chapters really tied it all together. Kind of a great inspiration here with having the lines to write and have a plan and to goal set right in there for all these specific areas in our life. So good. And he just really talks about having like one simple thing in each of these areas and moving forward with that. And it really, truly is so true. Just like we say that success breeds success or productivity breeds productivity. So when I'm having a stressful day or there's like a lot going on and my brain is super full, then I go do something and get it completed, because when I have one thing completed, I'm like, oh, yay, I have this sense of accomplishment. And then I feel that I can move forward and accomplish something else. And so when we pick one area in our health, like I'm big on eating lots of protein and healthy fats and all that. And I started just adding vegetables to my breakfast, which I don't really eat breakfast. I eat more of a brunch. So I started making sure that I was eating a vegetable with my first time I would eat for the day. Super easy, right? Not a big, huge change, but I did notice that I had changes in how I felt. And then of course we did our belly blaster. So that was super easy because you just mix and shake and drink. And that was really great and helpful to me. And that's so good to like carry that habit on into busy days and work days too. And happiness. So one thing that I've been also thinking of and working on, and I encourage people to do, is that we all have these busy lives. We have the kids, we have our jobs, we have our Plexus business, we have all these things going on in our head. And I was reading a different book and it talked about finding something that you do every day that makes you happy. And this is a couple months ago. And I was like, I don't really do anything that's just for me that makes me happy. And I'm not talking like, okay, I'm going to go to the spa every day for 6 hours. Like that's not the happiness that we're talking about. It's talking about doing like pleasure reading, or I like to crochet. So getting my crochet out for 15 minutes a day, or crafting or something that we truly enjoy. Like I enjoy a lot of things in my life. I enjoy spending time with my kids. I enjoy taking them to the park. I enjoy cooking. I really do. I don't mind doing dishes. I don't mind folding laundry, but none of that is like, oh, that makes me really happy when I do that. So it really made me think, and it challenged me to think, where is my time going? Where are my efforts going in my day? And how can I incorporate something? And it's truly can be a 15-minute thing. I like to work out. I know I should work out. I feel better when I work out. But when it becomes this thing that I should do, it's not something that inherently is bringing me happiness, right? So I do challenge people. I do challenge you to think, what is something you can do for 15 minutes a day that's just truly fun, that you truly enjoy? Relationship areas. How can we improve our relationship areas? Personal development. He talks over and over and over. If you are not reading 10 pages a day of a personal development book by the end of this book, then you didn't hear him. So go back and read this one again and start with 10 pages a day. 10 pages a day. Very, very doable, very easy to do, easy not to do. We want to continue to do that. Finances. One of my big things with finances is, can I afford a Starbucks coffee when I'm out running around? I sure can. But is that really the best way to spend my money? No, it's really not. It's not. It's a nice treat every now and again, or when we're traveling. But I will talk myself out of a specialty coffee 99% of the time. I just do. I love my coffee with some heavy cream and I am happy. I don't need something super fancy. I can truly enjoy that. So I will talk myself out of that. So how are we moving the needle forward? One latte at a time if we have to, right? And then our career. It was interesting that he says that 95% of people don't enjoy the job that they're in. It's really sad. And I also, the flip side of that, it makes me think, are people finding the negativity in their job and choosing not to enjoy it? You know, that's kind of the devil's advocate perspective, because I love being a physical therapist and I love helping people and I love the science that I've learned and studied, and I love helping people with major injuries and traumas and neurological conditions achieve some sort of normalcy and get better. I really enjoy that. But there's parts of being in a corporate healthcare system that are not enjoyable. And to see changes over 18 years is really interesting. And so I have had to, when I was working up until 3 weeks ago, right, I had to think about the positive things about my job and really focus on those. And so that does make me think too, because I think a lot of people do enjoy what they do, but there might be parts that they don't enjoy, and it's easy to focus on that. So I love how he equates his exercise for the day of 35 minutes, and like 35, like not 30, not 45, 35. But that was the time that he found that was the perfect amount of time. It was the equivalent of reading 10 pages a day for me. I'm like, okay, I need to go walk or exercise for 15 minutes a day. And I always do more. I always do more. And now I want and plan to start actually doing like a strength training workout for 15 minutes a day. And I know I'll do more, but that's a good starting point, right? And anyway, so those were just some thoughts that I had going through my head. I loved what he said about the 35 minutes and finding what works for you, what is perfect for you. And I love to, like, when we really focus on improving one area of our life. So we say, I'm going to start eating 2 vegetables a day if we don't eat any, whatever. If we start with that and we show that discipline day in and day out, then we're going to be more disciplined in other areas. So just like our IPA. Okay, someone is terrified to do IPA. Okay, just reach out to one person then. Reach out to 2 people. Work with the time that you have. And as you consistently do those things, it's going to definitely compound over time. And maybe for some people, you guys as leaders, like they might need help finding that sweet spot. Maybe when we show them the IPA write-up, they're like, oh, that's too much. It's kind of overwhelming. It's a lot to read through, whatever. If they have those objections, then what we can do is help them see what their sweet spot is. What's their 10 pages a day? What's their 35 minutes of exercise a day look like for them? And starting with that, and definitely encourage that consistently, and doing even a third of what we consider IPA and starting there, because I'd rather have someone reach out to one person a day and follow up with one person a day than not do anything, right? We want to do something, and helping them find that. Our outlook plays such a huge role in how we view life and how we view our families and our business and our job. And that is so important. And that just makes me think of gratitude. When we find the things even that seem like so tiny, but when we can show gratitude, then that gratitude compounds as well. And then again, he talks about the finances. This one really stood out to me as well, where he talked about, there was a quote. So on page 262 about love and work, Sigmund Freud asked what people need. And I think our society, the way that things are seen is that we should just have it all. But what we don't always realize or consider is that you work to have it all. Like, our parents did not get married, have a big, huge house, a boat, a vacation home, and 2 fancy cars. Our parents worked their butts off in order to have those things over time. And I know for me, like my generation, I'm like, my generation is like coming out of college wanting all of those things that took our parents years to work for. And I think that we also forget that we are called to work. We are designed to work. We aren't designed to sit and be given and given and given. One of our coworkers, Melissa's on, one of our coworkers, she grew up a little bit between here and China, but she grew up in China, and it's a very different economical and a lot of different cultures and a lot of different society. But she has said, like, if you are not working, then you can't eat. If you're not working, then you don't have clothes for your children. And so people there have such a strong, strong, strong work ethic, because if you don't work, you don't live. And we are designed to work and be fulfilled and have pride in what we're doing. And so we shouldn't be hiding and shrinking back because something takes work. Because if it takes work, it's going to be so much sweeter at the end. It's going to be much more worthwhile. The biggest thing that I came out to with goal setting is writing it down. I cannot remember where I talked about this, you guys. I can't remember. I know I talked about it this week about my kids having their sign. We had this big piece of paper and we want a dog, and these are ideas for boy names and girl names. And they had who was going to feed the dog and who was going to walk the dog and who was going to clean up after the dog. And they assigned and they talked about it and they dreamt about it and they hung it on the kitchen wall. I had this thing on the kitchen wall, painter's tape, the blue tape. So it doesn't look nice, whatever, but it was there. And then they talked about it and they dreamt about it. When we get a puppy, when we get a puppy, when we get a puppy. And I swear, if they hadn't had that pasted up and us seeing that, I don't know that Jason and I would have been like, okay, let's get a dog. We've always talked about it. Jason wanted to get a dog when we were first married. I was like, no. So it hasn't been this brand new idea, but it definitely has been something that when we saw that as a goal and we envisioned it and we saw it as a family, that it came to fruition. So write it down. And I loved too, he went chapter 18, he said, stop reading this book. Your life is waiting for you. You guys, your life is waiting for you. And so we don't need to make things more complicated than they are. We share from our hearts. We add value. We encourage. When people come to mind, he said 5 words. 5 words is all that it takes to change someone's outlook on their day and to be encouraging and to be a good friend. So, and then the last thing is just successful people do what unsuccessful people are willing to do. You know, you do the things, no matter if you don't feel like it or in your bad mood or you just don't want to, you just do it anyway. And it's so true. We're designed to work. And so once we start working and start going, that's why I end up staying up late some nights, because I can think and I start messaging and I start typing and I'm making my list and I'm all excited. And then I'm ramped up and then I can't sleep, but that's another story. So I'd love to open it up to you guys. I hope you have lots to share as well. So if I think you can unmute yourself, if you can't, let me know.
I can unmute myself. Hey, everybody. It is the last chapter of The Slight Edge, and might I just say that I am so sad, but I'm also excited about our new book, our next book. But gosh, you guys, this book, it is literally my favorite book right now. Seriously, my favorite book. I cannot tell you how much I talk about it all the time. My family is sick of hearing about The Slight Edge. I talk about it so much. I'm like, well, y'all can be sick about it all you want. I'm going to buy you each your own copy over here. But this one over here wants her copy. She likes to do book club with us. Okay. So, I mean, there were so many good things to talk about, but there was one thing that really stood out. Lots of things that stood out, but one thing that I was going to talk about so that other people can have some chance to talk here is the marriage thing. I'm trying to find what in the world page it was on. I can't find it right now. But anyways, he was talking about marriage, and he was talking about why do some marriages are so successful and then other marriages are not. And he said it's not like it's this big, huge thing that happens. It's the small little things over time that can either help or hurt the marriage, right? And so it goes with all of the things, and that's what this whole book has been about, is just doing the small, simple, daily, consistent things, and that's what leads to our massive success. And so it's not hitting the snooze button, it's getting up and it's doing the things. I know last summer so this is just a little bit about me. So I have always worked out. My kids will even tell you, like, before kids, I used to go to the gym. I would go to the pool and swim laps because I love swimming. I'm so happy we have our own pool now. But after I had kids, I literally would do my Billy Blanks in my family room. I would let me some Billy Blanks. Hello, who loves Billy Blanks? And I literally would sometimes, like when Matt was deployed, the kids would be taking their naps, and I would literally walk up and down my driveway, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, because you can't go for a walk when the kids are sleeping and your husband's not home, right? And so you just do what you have to do, right? But it's those little things. And so they've always kind of seen that example. But I can tell you that after I had the baby last year, Ronan, in the summertime, not only did I just have a baby, but we were having massive momentum with Plexus worldwide over here. And I was not exercising and I did not feel like myself. Like it was just not the same. And so I had to kind of remind myself, like, you just had a baby, you just had a baby. But my body was so used to it because I exercised through my whole pregnancies, like all of that, but it's just not hitting the snooze button. It's getting up, it's doing the things. It's like Taylor Chastain always says, do the dang thing. Don't make excuses. When we have our priorities, then we're going to do what we need. We're going to find the time to do it. I mean, we can write lists all day long, but if we're not going to like actually sit and do it, but Amy and I were just on the phone earlier today and she was telling me about her list. Amy, you should share that. And she was talking about her list and how she has to cross things off. And she's like, I have to be organized over here. And so she's being really intentional and really disciplined. Anyways, I'll be quiet. I'm going to let her say that because this is good for her to share.
I do. I do share. I do the lists. I have to. I have to be very intentional with my time to do the thing. I mean, as simple as I read my devotional in the morning, check it off. I read my 10 pages, check it off. I reach out to my people, check it off, check it off, check it off. It is ridiculous on the amount of things that I have to write down, but that's how I have to be. So it becomes that routine. Like this book lit a fire in me that in order to do the thing, I have to write it down. Otherwise, I'm not, it's just as easy for me to not do it because I just get so overwhelmed. So this book was amazing for me, just in making the goals and writing it all out. So it works for me. I was laughing with Rochelle though, because I got home from work and that's exactly what I did. When I got on my back porch, I was writing my list. I even write out what I'm going to post for tomorrow. Everything is just very organized for me. So I will check everything off as I'm doing it because I'm also working the full-time job and I'm on the phone constantly. And my boss laughs. Thank God I've got a really good boss because I will be like rounding on posts as I'm working, doing what I need to do, but I'm making sure I'm getting my things done. And I just told her, you've got to get this book. It's amazing. And it's going to change your life. So she's on the way to get the book too. She was asking me, where do I get it? Where do I get it? I had to get it from the library. I had to drop it off. So that's what we're trying to find it because we still can't seem to find it, but it's amazing book. Love it. Sad that it's over. Looking forward to the next one, but most definitely. That's it. Someone else.
I'm so glad you shared that with her. Like that, I've been sharing it with everybody. Like, I don't care if you're doing this business or not. Y'all need this. Everybody needs this book. It's amazing.
Oh, it is. It is. Everybody needs it. I tell my husband, you need to read it. It's life changing. It's life changing for anybody. If I can get my kids to read it, they need to read it. But you know how kids are. My kids are grown, so they know everything there is to know about anything. Don't believe it, just ask. That's what 25-year-olds will do. But
Does anyone else appreciate that the first two things he covered were your health and your happiness? I love that that was the order of things. I'm like, yep, okay, yep. Yeah. And then in that, the breaking it down for me, which kind of goes back to when we were doing the goal call the other day, Like you need to know where you are and where you want to be in order to know what you need to do to get there. So again, it just comes down to having a plan, right? We all just need to have a plan over here.
All right, I've got something, but I don't want to
good. Lists are amazing. I have a office full of multiple sets.
Erin, go ahead, because I think Nicole was all weirdo over there. Not her, but hers.
Yeah, I was not sure if it was just me, so I didn't want to interrupt. Okay, so I have something to share as I walk around with my baby. I was listening to this, I guess, I don't know if you'd call it a podcast or whatever you want to call it. This video today. Has anyone here heard of Jim Kwik? So the guy is incredible. I don't know if anyone's heard of him, but anyway, when he was 5 years old, he had a traumatic brain injury. And so people would refer to him as the kid with the broken brain. And he was held back in school. He couldn't read. It took him like 3 extra years to learn to read. Like, I don't think he learned to read until he was 8 years old. She keeps saying owie. It's her favorite word. I'm going to go outside, but I might get attacked by mosquitoes. Anyway, this guy, he taught himself to read early or like later in life. When he was in high school, he just excelled. He learned how to read really quick. Like he actually teaches classes on like this girl that he taught how to read could read 30 books in 30 days. And she did it to cure her mom's cancer. And it was crazy. But this guy's really amazing. He goes around everywhere, like speaking and stuff. And he had these really just like profound tips today. I took so many notes. He talked about how a lie is a limited idea entertained. And you need to upgrade your mind, transform your brain. And if you do that, you can transform the world. Life is the C, literal C, like ABC. Life is the C between B and D. C stands for choice. So I don't know if this is gonna work. Life is the choice between birth and death. That's what the B and D are. And then he also talked about like 6 different C's, and he does everything in ways like where you can memorize it easily because he had such a hard time remembering things growing up. That always makes things like really catchy.
All the frozen people tonight.
The kid was trying to get out. Can you guys hear me? Or am I blurring? Am I good? He notices the caterpillar's trying to get out and he tries to help the caterpillar. And of course the caterpillar's like all full of fluid and dies and whatnot, right? Because like it can't fly. He helped it. The caterpillar needed to go through that journey in order to come out and be transformed into a butterfly. So he talks about 6 C's in your life. Like take notes, I guess, if you have a notebook that can help you. The first is clarity. So identify what's most important to you. Number 2, care. So what is the hygiene, like Elizabeth is talking about today? I made sure my kids were in bed by 8:30 so I could work out for 15 minutes and have like 15 minutes before book club to try to get her to sleep, which that didn't work out. But I haven't been working out for probably 2.5 weeks. So mental hygiene is like your prayer, your meditation, your yoga, you know, all those things, like your 15-minute workout, something to make you like move and feel alive. The third is contribution. So where can you invest your time, your talent, and your treasure? Because if it's like all just for selfish gain, you're not really gonna like be fulfilled in life. You need to be contributing somewhere, volunteering at a church, helping your Plexus team, right? The 4th C is creativity. So what are your creative outlets? Like whether it's artistry or we all have, I think a lot of different ways where sometimes in the regular school system, like our creative outlets aren't always, I don't know, like people kind of forget, like if you asked like a room of little kids, you know, do you believe in yourself? What are you going to be someday? Like who's going to be an artist? 10 people would raise their hand, but like 10 years later, there'd be 1 person that raised their hand because at some point in time, they stopped believing in themselves. And then number 5 is capabilities. So basically, do you have a to learn list? Learn how to learn, like all the stuff that we're doing now. He definitely recommends reading 30 minutes a day. I'm totally out of breath here. And then number 6 is community. And it really matters who you are with. We have mirror neurons, so we mirror who's around. So if you're around really negative people, you know, are very archaic, then you're probably going to be negative yourself. So I'm going to stop speaking. But that's just some of the nuggets of wisdom I got from him today that I wanted to share. I have like pages and pages. I should probably do a video on it. I mean, if you guys want me to talk about Jim Quick, I can talk about this guy all day. Does anyone want some more nuggets? I can't see people. I can't see anyone. I can see Rochelle. Okay, I can see people now. Raise your hand if you want another nugget. I'm letting someone else. Oh, Rochelle wants one. Okay, so we've all heard like, you know, watch your words because they become blah, blah, blah. So he had a good acronym for remembering it. So just watch, right? So W stands for words, for actions, T is thoughts, C is character, and H is habits. And you create your habits and your habits create you. Super important, pretty much everything the slide edge is talking about. And life difficulties can diminish or develop you. So what are you choosing? Are you choosing to be a thermometer, somebody that reacts to everything thrown at them? Or are you choosing to be a thermostat? A thermostat gauges their environment and the environment reacts to it. So your locus of control is on the inside. That's all I'm gonna say because I want somebody else to talk. I'll just do a video on it some other time.
All right, y'all. It's like really hard for me to sit here and be quiet for so long when other people aren't talking here. Jackie, you haven't said anything all night. Rachel, we're going to call people's names out. Where's Beverly at? Elizabeth's going to call on people. Where's Taylor Chastain? She's not on tonight.
I'll talk for a minute. So reading the Slight Edge, I really like how it broke down the different categories, and it kind of got me thinking, like, yes, we all have goals and have to divide up in the other areas. And I've kind of always done the Slight Edge and always worked on little things at a time, but kind of journaling, it made me realize that then you can kind of reflect back, because I think with the Slight Edge, all these little things add up and you get somewhere and you just don't realize how far you've come and really appreciate that. So just kind of keeping track and reflecting and adding that piece in, I think really helps as well. Kind of, for example, when someone mentioned something about like vegetables and committing to doing 2, I think Elizabeth said that. It made me think way back in the day. I remember in OT school, we talked about making changes and doing health things. And like I hadn't been eating any vegetables. And so just adding, like my goal was to do like 2 vegetables a day. And just how over the years it's become more and more. And like now my husband's like, why do we have to have so many vegetables for dinner? Like, can't we have something else? And it just kind of catches up with you and you don't always notice. And just appreciating how far you've come, even, in our businesses. Like sometimes I think like, oh, I'm only a senior gold, like I should be so much farther because we have those dreams and things we're working towards. But then appreciating kind of where we're at as well and how far we're come and just all the amazing things everyone on here is doing that sometimes I don't think we give enough credit to ourselves either. So giving that piece as well, and then kind of adding that into your slight edge of consistently reflecting on where you're at. So that way you kind of continue to appreciate where you're going to and can add that extra aspect to your goals.
Yeah, I love that. And the reflection, like it, when you were talking about reflection, it just made me think about when he was talking about how you can turn your downtime into uptime. And, you know, like when you're driving to work or when you're in the airport or whatever his other examples were, like listening to audiobooks and things like that. And so, you know, I know a lot of you guys listen to podcasts and things. Like, I really am not good with all of that. I don't even know how to find a dang podcast on my phone, you guys. Anybody can be a Joel. It's totally fine. But I do love to listen to, look, I got CDs, y'all. I mean, I don't know, I'm showing my age over here, but I got my Switch on Your Brain CD and I have these CDs that I put in my Lexus. But anyways, but I personally just love to read. And so, but I love what he said about like using your downtime as uptime and listen. And Sarah Robbins talked about that. Like make when you're driving to work, to and from, 8 tracks. Yeah, no, I'm not that old. Matt talks about his 8 tracks. I never have seen an 8 track, but I guess I am that old. I don't know. Anyways, getting off track here. But I like to read, I like to underline, I like to write myself notes because that's how I remember better. So like I was really loving listening to what you were saying, Erin, about all the different acronyms and you know, help this guy that you were saying and helping him. And I'm like, yeah, I love that because it's easier to remember then. I know John Maxwell, I feel like uses a lot of acronyms too. But using your time when you're driving to and from work as being in a rolling university, they talk about that, you know, and just filling your brain with those kinds of good things. I know that when I'm with my kids, I'll put things on and they'll listen with me. Sometimes I don't because I just want to talk with them a little bit because that's important too. So you just kind of balance it out, you know, but it's really important to, and then sometimes you just are going to sit in your car and you're going to reflect. You're going to reflect on all the things that you're grateful for, or you're going to be thinking about what you can do for your team. You're going to be thinking about your posts that you want to do. You're going to be thinking about how you can help your team reach their goals, you know, whatever. It's just really important to think. And that's something that Fallon said that she did a lot when she was going from like senior Ruby to Emerald, is she would be out in the yard with her kids and they would just be playing and she would either be reading her personal growth books or she would be like in their pool, just laying there thinking, just thinking about what she could do with her team, how she could help. Because she had 3 of them, Cody, Tiffany, and Brittany, running so fast that she could barely keep up. And I was still a silver when she hit Emerald. So I was like her 4th wheel over here. But definitely really good to be doing some reflecting for sure. And just starting with our penny, just starting with your penny. I love this book. I love it. I could talk about it all night.
Since we started this book, I have been thinking about that frog thing like so many times. I'm like, it's okay. Just be like the frog. Like if I get overwhelmed or something, like it's okay. Just be like the frog. Be a penny. Just be the penny. And you know, just then it just kicks me back into like, it's okay. You know, we're moving forward. We're learning. We're still moving the needle. We're still moving the needle. And he said at the end, would you rather have $1 million or have $1 million mindset? And, you know, when I first read that, I was like, I want the $1 million. I'm just being honest, you know, but I mean, the price of that, it goes back to the beginning where the 2 sons, you know, he had the $1 million, but he didn't have the mindset, the skills, the knowledge, or anything in order to handle that well. So I guess if I had to choose, like have money, but have no sense about me, then I want the mindset. But at first I was like, well, can't I have both? You know, like, I guess that's where I went. Well, I want both. But yeah, so definitely it's really funny how just these little things from this book have just popped into my head over and over again, which has been really encouraging. And it's really nice to have this tool in our pocket. And my challenge to myself now is to be like talking in little increments on Facebook or on like lives and my stories, like sharing these little things, because that's adding a lot of value. And it's a good challenge to myself because it'll force me to kind of go back through and pull those points out. And so then it's going to help me solidify that even more than the reading and taking notes and book club.
Yeah. And another thing that stood out to me quick that I want to say is I just really loved how he continued to talk about it really throughout the whole book about the 95% and the 5%. I mean, I have heard that so many times over the course of me doing this business, and how, you know, we're looking for that 1%. This is why we are told no so many times and all of these things. And don't be discouraged when you're told no, you know, it's a good thing and blah, 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 and all these things. But so many, this is why people, they'll just hit the snooze button. They don't get up. They don't read the 10 pages. They don't do the thing. And so this is why 95% are on the failure curve. It is just, it's really eye-opening, and it's really sad, honestly. It's like, just do the thing. Like, set your alarm to go to bed on time. Set your alarm to get up on time. Like, you have to have self-discipline. And I understand that, you know, it might not come as easy to some people with some things, or, you know, maybe certain things are easier for certain people and other things are not. I mean, I have never had a problem with getting up and working out, right? But I did have to incorporate reading 10 pages a day. I had to incorporate reading personal growth. I didn't understand what that even meant. I'm like, personal growth? I read my Bible. I don't know what personal growth is. What else kind of personal growth are we talking about here, you know? But it's just so important if we can read. And it's not just read any old book. It's like, read meaningful books that are going to do something for your life. And so that was one of the things that I wrote down on whatever, the personal development section. And I wrote down that I want to read 10 pages a day, which I've already been doing that, but I want to also read more books outside of book club. And I want to be a little more organized in my reading, because right now I'm currently reading like 7 books. And I feel like it's a little, I don't know, it's kind of a lot. So I want to kind of like shrink that. I don't want to shrink my knowledge. I just want to maybe get my books a little bit more concise. But the personal growth is just so important. The reading is just so good. There was something else I was going to say, but I forgot.
Well, Elizabeth, I just have to say, I love that you said that you're going to try to incorporate what you're doing into more like lives and stuff and actually teach it, because that's the thing. Knowledge is actually not power. Knowledge is just potential power. If you're not able to teach it, then you haven't learned it. So I was thinking that too today, is like, I really need to do more lives myself, because I'm literally learning all the time. I'm every single day learning. Like, my kids are like, Mom, what are you listening to? And I'll turn it off so we can talk and stuff too. But it's very similar, where they're like intrigued with what I'm learning too, which is super cool. And then it gives me an opportunity to teach it to them. But there's definitely a wider audience that you can reach. And then one thing that was like really stood out to me today from listening to Jim is he said there is a version of you that you haven't met yet. Show up every day until you meet that person. So just wait until, you know, if ideally you're going to be a lifelong learner, right? And you're just going to love yourself more and more as time goes on. But just think of like who you can become and how cool you're going to be, and how you're going to want to just give yourself the biggest hug when you become that version of yourself that you're striving towards. So like, kudos to everyone for being on here, for sharing, for all of that, because it's not easy to show up to book club when you have all this chaos going on, right? But like, everybody's not making excuses and they're here and sharing knowledge, which is super cool.
She's so cute. She's going to sleep. Little boo. Aww. That's really good, Erin. I love that. And so many things that you've said tonight are things that I've already heard with different videos or different books or whatever. So that'd be awesome for you to put it all, like, I mean, I don't know how much you have. You might have to break it into a few videos or not, whatnot, but definitely some videos on some of this stuff is really good.
And you're right about teaching too. Like when you teach something, that's how you know you really know it. Like we have so many PTs and OTs in our team, but we're like, go to school and you get all this knowledge and you practice on normal people, right? Just healthy, healthy classmates. And then I remember getting like done with PT school going, I don't know anything. What am I supposed to do? Having this feeling and then learning. And then I got into teaching. I wasn't a PT super long, a few years, and I got into teaching. And it does truly solidify your knowledge and challenges that. And think about too, like even with our kids, like we've lived this whole life. So there's so many things that we do and we know because we just do them automatically, but our kids are learning. And so when we can break the task down so that they're learning it, that's so valuable because you're really having to step back and then you can change those tracks in our brains. I got 2 kids that are like trying to fight all the time now. And I'm like, you are all going to drive me nuts. And like thinking back to what did my mom do when we were fighting? What happened? And then I try not to just be like, just go upstairs and you stay here. Like not, you know what I mean? But trying to help them see like conflict doesn't ever go away. You're always going to have conflict. You're always going to have somebody saying something to you. So how can we navigate through this? What are the steps that we can break down and take forward? So anyway, that is another episode of book club parenting.
I know I'm in the dark here. Sorry, I'm not moving. But one of the things I got from a coaching call the other day was making sure that we're continuing to add value. And like you were saying, we all have different things to teach. If we look at all of us that are on here tonight, just what we do on a daily basis, like Erin, you trying to get your kid to sleep and not going outside because the bugs are attacking, but switching to the ball so that you're not killing yourself trying to bounce all the time. Those are little tips that another mom might not know. So adding those things onto your wall, onto your stories that are adding value. We don't have to be puking plexus all the time. But if we're adding value, positive tips to people, whether it's the food you're eating or a parenting tip or something you found on sale or a gardening tip, those are things that people are going to come back for and look for. And they're not, people are going to search those things out. And that's something that we can do as a service to others to add value. So you might not think that you have something to add, but look at the things that you do that you found that made your life easier and put stuff up about that because somebody else needs those tips. They just don't know it.
Absolutely. Everybody has value to add. We all have value to add. And we all have those different things. I loved that, Jackie. Thank you so much for saying that too. I think too, I'm not saying to wrap it up. If anybody has anything else to say, please feel free. But I'm just saying that to wrap up this book, it's like, don't be the 95%. Like we are striving to be the 5%, and we are here to help our teammates be in the 5%, and just encouraging them, whether they're our prospects who have objections or our people that we're trying to encourage about the business and they have objections. It is our job to help them to see, like, you just have to change your mindset. You have to overcome their people, help them to overcome their people's objections. And just when we make things a priority and when we just say, I'm doing this, like just do it. Once you decide that you're going to do it, then you're going to do it. You know what I mean? Like that's just how it is. Once people decide they're going to do something, then they're going to do it. Otherwise, it's like, what's that Mel Robbins? Is it Mel Robbins? Whatever her name is, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Like people talk themselves out of things all the time. Like we're not here to talk ourselves out of things. We're here to push ourselves, to stretch ourselves. We're also here to stretch our team a little bit. Now we're not here to, who just said it? Jackie, Aaron, somebody. We're not here to puke plexus everywhere, but we're here to stretch our people. And we don't want to see them just sitting there in that 95% or on that 95% curve. We want to see them going on the 5% upwards curve. So kind of helping them stretch just a little bit, a little bit. I mean, we all have to do that. Like, I can't tell you how much stretching I've had to do. If you would have told me it's been almost 6 years that I've been doing this business, but if you would have told me 6 years ago that I'd be sitting here leading book clubs and team calls, I'd have been like, yeah, right. I'm not doing that. No. I remember my first 3A call with Elizabeth. She gets on. She's like, oh, hi, I'm Elizabeth. My husband's Jason. I have 4 kids. I'm a PT, all these things. I love to teach. I can't wait to teach book clubs and whatever she calls it. And I'm going, what is wrong with this girl? That's what I was saying in my mind, of course, because I'm going, I don't want to teach anything. I don't want to train anything. But it's so funny how things change, right? And you personally grow. And now look at me. Y'all can't get me to shut up over here. So I just love it so much. I love, love, love this. But sometimes that scares people though, right? Like they think to themselves, oh, I could never do what Elizabeth's doing. I could never do what these sapphires are doing and making lives and leading book clubs and things like that. Well, hello, we didn't just start doing this. Like we had to grow into it too. You know, it's like Elizabeth said, our parents didn't just all of a sudden have a nice house and 2 cars. Like they had to work for it. I mean, my parents, when they first got married, their furniture, they had a house, but their furniture was like 2 lawn chairs. Like that was what they had to start out with. You know, we had a futon and a bookshelf. I mean, like we have to start somewhere, right? So anyways, you guys, love this book. Can't wait for next one. Elizabeth, I'll let you take over that. I'm not trying to take over this call here. Elizabeth, I'm going to be quiet now. You talk about the next book.
Well, for a second, I was like, you guys, we're at like 9:42. This is a record for book club, especially with the blue leading it. And then we kept talking, which is totally fine. But now it's 9:50. So if anyone has anything else they want to add or wrap up, jump in the chat real quick. Raise your hand.
I'll jump in. I thought of one more thing while you all were talking. Some of the like trainings I've been on and listening to today made me think of like the live. Another benefit of getting on and teaching the things that we've been learning and just have in our life is just to create more connections with people too. That on one of the gold trainings tonight, Alan was saying she was asking Cody how she gets to recruit so many people, but it's because we're telling our story. And you know, when people get on and do more lives, like Christina Williams does a lot of them, that's how people get to know you better. So then when you turn around and you're reaching out to people and doing more of the cold messaging, people have already followed you and know more of like your story and just how more vulnerable you are and how much more you're sharing. So they're more open when you do go to do the IPA and reach out to them to respond and follow up and answer your questions and have more conversation. That it's not just somebody on your Facebook list that friended, you know, a year ago and you haven't talked to them, that you have more of that connection and it kind of creates the process and makes it go better.
Okay, I'm gonna build on that. I'm sorry. I know it's getting late, but building on that, Melissa, another thing that you can do, your stories, you can see who viewed them. So when you go to your stories, don't just put them up to put them up. Go to them within that 24-hour time frame and look and see who viewed them and message those people. Hey, thanks for peeking at my stories. I wondered if you knew anything about the things I share. And that opens that door for those people who are following your story, and it allows them, or it allows you to start up that conversation that you're not just total strangers, you're not just a cold messaging them. So that's a way to invite people in that you've invited from your life already, that are kind of watching and seeing what you're doing.
Love it. All right. You guys, thanks so much for getting on tonight. I think this is a good recording to share too, because it was kind of a recap of the whole book, and sending it to people could be a great way to open the door for them to want to read it themselves, check out the other recordings, you know. So definitely keep that in mind, and them feeling encouraged and inspired that we can focus on one little thing at a time and build on that. So